What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Naruto Explain here, bringing you guys another Boruto 2 Blue Vortex discussion. Today, I want to talk to you guys about the growing disappointment that I've seen from people upset that Boruto in the last chapter didn't open up his eye and reveal the Jougan eye in the leaks for Boruto 2 Blue Vortex Chapter 4. I think we're all, for the most part, because there's always a statistical minority. I think we're all pretty excited about Boruto busting out the flying Raijin jutsu in the latest Boruto manga chapter. But you have people being visibly upset based off of what I've seen that Boruto didn't reveal his Jougan, which is why in today's Naruto Explain video, I wanted to weigh in on the anger that I've been seeing and why I think it's best for everyone that is super uptight right now to relax and take a breath. And for those of you guys who have been asking me in the DMs when the chapter review is coming, the chapter review is coming tomorrow when the chapter releases officially. I'm giving people who want to actually read the chapter on the official release time to actually do so. I get the tendency right here to be upset with what we got. People wanted to see the almighty mythical Jougan eye, the eye that will solve the problems of every minor issue of the Boruto manga and pay off the years upon years of waiting for the reveal and make everything right in the world itself. But I think this is again where the word patience has to be spoken here, which, given how short of an attention span this generation of anime and manga fans have, that's almost like a taboo word. Delay payoff and allowing the author to subvert our expectations is not a bad thing. It's the same reason after I got over my initial hype that came from the tease of Boruto versus Kawaki versus Code in the first chapter after it dropped, and we got that teaser text in V-Jump magazine alluding to a potential three-way battle. One of the first things I did when I took the emotion out of it was say, hey, we're not jumping right into a battle of this proportion, and most importantly, a battle of Boruto versus Kawaki this soon. And after the last chapter left on the cliffhanger, I doubled down on it, saying we're not going to get Boruto versus Kawaki right now because we need to allow for the series to cook. We don't need Boruto versus Kawaki again and again and again. We've already waited years just to get to this point in the story, and while some of the pieces have clearly been put in place, there are other things leading up to this battle of Boruto versus Kawaki that don't appear to be set in stone yet. One of them being how Kawaki develops this ideology that he has about the age of the shinobi being over. We can clearly see that Kawaki doesn't have a particular fondness for the way that shinobi do things, nor does he care for the shinobi culture all that much, but you can see the seeds are being planted, with Sarada placing emphasis on the word ninja when she is shown speaking to Kawaki in the Hokage office, and the disgust on Kawaki's face when she makes that statement. We saw seeds of this being planted with the sparring match in Boruto chapter 58, where Kawaki doesn't care about the path of the shinobi, which is why I do think we need to wait and see how things develop. That question has to be answered before you get to Boruto versus Kawaki. In the moment that Boruto opens up his eye when he's facing Kawaki, it is delayed gratification. We don't really need it at this point if we're being honest. If Boruto versus Kawaki happened right here on the spot like some people wanted, it would have been rushing towards that moment without us having a true payoff for it, and it would give us diminishing returns. We just had Boruto versus Kawaki in chapter 58, and then we had it again in chapters 65 and 66, and then we had it again in Boruto chapter 76. It's almost like a once a year occurrence. We get Boruto versus Kawaki. It feels less and less special each time you have these two mix it up, like they're just being used to have these small squabbles and battle each other for the sake of filling up space in the manga volume, which is what you don't want because it takes out the bite of the special nature of that battle that you get. I do understand some of the frustration where you have people who feel like that this is being teased, where we're getting the eye and then we get the Boruto versus Kawaki clash, so on. It has them being really foaming at the mouth over the encounter because of the flash forward sequence. That's the gift and the curse of a story like this, utilizing the method of a flash forward sequence, where you show a scene out of context from the middle of the story or the end of the story, because you then have to go back and tell the story from the start and tell it in chronological order how we got to a particular situation. situation, showing Boruto versus Kawaki, where Kawaki says that the age of the shinobi is over, would be like if we started the Naruto franchise with Naruto meeting Sasuke at the 5 Kage Summit, where Sasuke tells Naruto, Sakura, and Kakashi that he plans to destroy the Hidden Leaf Village, and then you cut it out right before he says that, and you just see the Naruto and Sasuke Rasengan clash, and then you go back to the events of Naruto Chapter 1. The whole time you go through all the events prior to that, you're just wondering, hey, how do we get there? And you're going to have people that get antsy as a result of that. We have a similar thing going on here. People want what they were teased back when the manga first started, and I think it's led to people building up the moment so much in their heads that one, the moment when it finally gets here, they're not going to be satisfied. And two, they are let down by whenever we get to this because they feel that the tease of the scene and their expectations are being subverted. Which is why I think you have some people who don't truly appreciate the plot twist that we just got with Boruto knowing the flying Raijin. I've been on record as far back as 2016 on my first channel, KRYPTONIAN saying I thought that this was a mistake to use the flash forward sequence for the method of storytelling, because anyone jumping over from the Naruto franchise, they're not particularly used to that. Most shonen don't use that method of storytelling. Some do, but for the most part, they tell chronological stories. And with the Naruto franchise, in particular, people familiar with the manga, that's the route that you got. There was no tease at the start of Naruto Part 2. We had Sasuke and Naruto meeting up at Orochimaru's hideout. That was anime only in terms of how it was presented. In the manga, we just jumped into Naruto returning to the village, and then in the next arc, we saw Naruto and Sasuke meet again. I kind of feel like we should have just gone right into this as a chronological storytelling method. Even though I get the why behind Kishimoto pushing as hard as he did for the flash forward sequence. It's been talked about extensively by Ikimoto and Kishimoto himself. Ikimoto said that Kishi wanted to tease that there was a bad future that was waiting after we got through all the times of peace. It was important to showcase the peace that Naruto and Sasuke fought so hard to establish, something that goes over the heads of some people. And we also had Kishimoto's own desire to see the events of Boruto the movie drawn in manga format, because that's what he originally wanted done for that story before Shueisha told him, hey, the production committee, they want a movie. Studio P-Roll's on board with doing the movie. We need a story. Take that story you want to make into a manga and make it into a movie, which I've gone over in detail in a 60-second short that I'll leave in the info cards in the upper right-hand corner of this video, as well as down in the description box for people who are interested in wanting to learn more of how Boruto even came to be. I think that this was the right decision. The story has already run Boruto versus Kawaki into the ground by having as many detailed fights as we had. It's running the risk of losing the hype. The reveal of Boruto knowing flying Raijin and now having these new enemies appear while you still have code out there, this is the better storytelling route to take in my opinion, because you are laying the groundwork for other aspects of the story to be used to create tension and serve as a bridge to get us to that moment everybody wants. We have more credible threats that are there serving as a roadblock and obstacles for us to get to Boruto versus Kawaki, just as you had Orochimaru and the Akatsuki serving as roadblocks in order to get us to that grand showdown of Naruto versus Sasuke. You needed something else here, because nobody in their right mind ever thought Code was going to be that thing that stood between them, because from the moment it was revealed that Code was stronger than Jougan but weaker than Ishiki, you knew he was only going to be a stopgap that was used as a benchmark force, because Damon was the strongest character. Another person stated below Ishiki but stronger than Jougan. Going by conventional standard shonen power cliffing that you get in battle shonen, eventually we would have had to go beyond Baryon mode levels of power. Damon doesn't come across like a villain or even an obstacle for Boruto to overcome. If anything, he's being positioned as more of a future rival for Boruto, even if it's a one-sided rivalry, because Damon is only intrigued by fighting Boruto at full power because he's intrigued by Boruto's potential. Neither Code or Damon has enough to serve as an obstacle before you get to Boruto versus Kawaki in that Jougan reveal. Narratively, they've not been built up enough to where that will feel earned. The fact that these Ten Tails hybrids are being positioned the way that they are so strongly after coming out, looking as powerful as they are, it's allowing for there to be a true threat that carries our attention and builds on the stakes even more in order to get us to a position where we see Kawaki's ideology change and build more space, because before we get to Boruto versus Kawaki inevitably happening, you need more traction on the road. I think the fact that these 10 Tails humanoids have their own personalities and are evolving means that we have the chance to leave more of a lasting impact on the story, instead of it just being these mindless monsters are operating off of instinct, which is what people initially thought when we saw them getting cut down by Boruto so easily. They felt like they were lower level enemies that you battle in an RPG to build up experience points before fighting the main boss. This threat now feels like it has some teeth to it, and it won't be something that is a one and done. I think the people who are upset that we didn't get the Jougan in this chapter, they basically jumped the gun and let their expectations get in the way. Basically, not being able to see the forest of the trees because they're so focused on the end game and so focused on seeing the Jougan, the magical, mythical eye. Just like Cody Rhodes fans in the WWE are so focused on ending the story for Cody that they get pissed off when the story doesn't go the way that they wanted it to back in April. In both that situation and this situation here of Boruto versus Kawaki and the mythical Jougan eye, it's long-term booking. You just got to sit back, be a fan, and wait to see how things play out. Sometimes the best dishes that get served to you aren't the ones you put in the microwave. Sometimes it's the one that you got to put in the oven and let it cook for an hour before you take it out and serve it. That being said, I am curious to see how you guys feel about all this Jougan outrage. The Boruto chapter review will be out tomorrow on the 20th, but in the meantime, don't forget to check out my Jujutsu Kaisen chapter review.